I didn't plan to camp that night. I want to be clear from the start. I was hiking the Appalachian Trail in late October. It was in the off-season, colder nights, fewer people. I'd misjudged the distance between shelters. By the time the sun dipped behind the ridgeline, I still had 2 miles left and no headlamp battery worth trusting. So I did what every hiker says you shouldn't do. When it got a little darker, I decided to stop and look for a sort of a camping spot for the night. The campsite wasn't official, just a flat patch of ground tucked between hemlocks. No fire ring, no footprints, and no signposts around. That should have been my first warning, but exhaustion has a way of making a bad decision seem good and reasonable at the time. I placed my tent in a flat area as fast as I can as the darkness was creeping. The woods were quiet in that unnatural way you only notice once everything else has stopped. I gathered some kindle to start a fire for company. The fire was barely more than embers, enough to warm my fingers. The fire popped softly, lighting up the tree trunks just beyond the clearing. A little bit past it, the darkness of the woods swallowed the light. Around 9 p.m. I heard it, a snap. The sound came from my right, maybe 50 yards away. At first I smiled, thought it was another hike. At first it was comforting, honestly. You don't realize how lonely you are until you're not. Then I heard it again, 2 snaps, then the scrape of stones. Sounded like someone was building a fire. I leaned back, listening. The sounds were deliberate, sticks breaking cleanly, rocks shifting and leaves crunching. That's when something felt off. It was just random noises, no talking, no zipping sounds, just construction. I waited to see flickering lights through the trees. Nothing. 10 minutes passed and I still haven't seen a glow from the fire. I called out, "Hey!" Didn't realize anyone else was camping nearby. My voice sounded louder than I expected. It bounced off the trees and came back thin and warped. For a moment there was silence. Then, "Hey. Yeah. Just setting up." The voice came from the same direction as the sounds from earlier. A male voice, calm and casual. I told Mislav I was imaging it. "Cool," I said. "Didn't mean to crowd you." Again, silence. Then, "Didn't mean to crowd you." And the person said the exact same words and tone as previously. My stomach tightened. That wasn't a response. That was an echo. I stood up slowly with the fire crackling at my feet. I stared into the trees to see if there was any movement in the dark. "What is your destination?" I asked. This time the pause was longer. The pause was long enough to make me think that I was alone again. Then, from the direction of the other camp, there was a response. "What is your destination?" My own voice. Not similar, but identical. Even the slight crack on the last word. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Every instinct I had was screaming the same thing. Do not teach it anything else. The woods went quiet again. No snapping twigs, no crickets, nothing. The only thing I could hear was the popping of the fire right in front of me. After a few minutes of silence, I started hearing footsteps, slow and methodically circling just outside the boundaries from the light of the fire. Leaves compressed with every step being taken, with twigs snapping. The steps was not rushed, each step was planned and cautious. I grabbed my flashlight and flashed it towards the sound. The beam of the light cut through the darkness, but nothing was there. No person, no fire, no campsite. Just disturbed leaves. And trees with broken branches that were 2 meters high from the ground. I killed the fire. I don't know why. I just did. Instinct again. Darkness rushed in so fast it felt physical, like being submerged. I rushed into my tent, heart pounding, with my knife on my lap, barely breathing, listening for any sound outside. That's when it spoke again. Much closer this time. "Hey, you still there?" I didn't answer. The voice shifted, not louder, not angrier, but wrong. Just wrong. "Hey, you still there?" Each word was being stretched as if it was learning to pronounce them. The sound of steps was getting closer to my tent. I gripped my knife tighter just when I thought something was opening the zipper. Something brushed its hand against the side of my tent as it was walking. Then nothing. I stayed frozen until dawn, not moving, barely breathing, just listening to it circle around the campsite. When it spoke, it was always a repeat of what I had already said. Nothing new, just reflections of previously spoken words. When the sun finally rose, breaking through the darkness of the woods, the birds chirping as if nothing had happened. Normality so sudden it felt wrong. Almost cruel. I started packing in such a hurry I didn't even bother to eat. As I was packing, I saw a glimpse of a footprint, probably from the person walking around my tent in the night. There isn't really a way of describing the footprint. All I can say is that it looked like it wasn't used to being human. I made my way back to the trail, ensured that no one was following me, and looked for the closest ranger station on the trail. I reported the incident to the ranger. He listened intently but didn't write anything down. After I finished explaining, he sighed, looking at me for a brief moment, and finally said, "When something speaks from within the woods, don't answer it." After the incident, I made sure to never camp alone again. And I never answer when the darkness speaks. Thank you for listening. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons for more.